What I heard today was, I used to be this and I used to be this, and then I came to Upward Bound. So I'm fast forwarding 4 years. And then I got my bachelor's degree. And then I got my master's degree. And then I got my JD. And then I got my PhD. And then I ran for Congress. And then I became president. And then I became a surgeon. And then I became the next director of Upward Bound. So I want you all to understand something. Your voice is your blueprint. There's a brother named Frank Baez who just graduated from NYU. He just became a nurse. I don't know if you hear this story, brother, from the Dominican? Yes. He became a nurse from being a janitor. At age 15, he came to New York. Could hardly speak English. Yes, there were some hard days. Yes, there were some people that got on his nerves. Yes, there was days he wanted to give up. Yes, there were days he got no sleep. You know what he said before he became a nurse? He says, I want to be one of them. Your voice is your blueprint. Speaking first, that's the blueprint. And then you work. Life is long, right? And understand, I've just broken it up into 30-year increments. The first 30 is for training. The next 30 is for gaining. And if you take the first 30 training and take the next 30 for gaining, then the next 30, there's no explaining. There's 3 things that a marathon contains. We got to stretch. And then I came to Upward Bound. I heard people say I was shy, I didn't want to talk to nobody. Now you're conquering the #1 fear in the world. And then I came to Upward Bound. Somebody stretched you. I heard you call Sister Oriel's name. And the rest of the staff's name, they stretched you. You can't train unless you stretch. It doesn't necessarily alleviate injury, but it reduces the amount of injury. And sometimes between parents and counselors and teachers, you don't want to hear it, but guess what? They just here to stretch you. They just want you to go a little bit, if not a lot of bit further than they did. And yeah, there's no such thing called growing pleasures. It's called growing pains. Because when we grow, it's not supposed to be comfortable. You have to stretch, but then we have to train. Nobody likes to train. Why? I already know how to do this. Yeah, but you know what? Nobody does it perfectly. How many times you win? How many times you fail? Come on, do I know more hip hop than y'all do? What's up? When we talk about training, understand, I live by the mantra, if it's not practice time, it's game time. If it's not game time, it's practice time. If it's not practice time, it's game time. If it's not game time, it's practice time. This right here is practice. Remember I told you the first 30 is for training. The next 30 is for gaining. And I tell you, I turned from a hooper to a runner. And a few years ago, I was running in a 10K back in Maryland. And like any other day, I think I'm young and invincible. I tell you, I still think I got game, right? So I decided to get up and run the 10K. Just so happens that, guess what? I didn't. I stretched. I did the cool stretch. Like, okay, yeah, I'm ready. You know, I hadn't really run about a week. I'm like, oh, this is 6.2 miles. I got this. You know, boom. So I get it. We're running, taking off. We're running. So at about mile 4, ooh, that over 30 reminder kicked into my right leg. Right? I'm like, oh snap. So I had to make the adjustment. We talk about running a marathon, we have to make sure that when we train, you have to make an adjustment. Some days you may not be able to stay up as late. Some days you may have to ask a few more questions. Some days you may need to do a couple more problem sets, right? But because I didn't stretch, it hindered me. But here's the funny thing. In the turn of the race, I see 3 people running. In front was the grandson. Middle was the son. The back was granddad. And it's like I froze in time. I said, wow. It's symbolic of life. It's symbolic of life. Even if you haven't met your grandparents or your ancestors. The marathon, the young one, he's gonna make his time. Dad is in the middle because he's watching the future and he's also taking care of the past. And so when he realizes who he's bringing with him, his son realizes who he's bringing with him. Granddad doesn't have to look over his back because guess what? Dad, son, and grandson understands it. No matter what happens to granddad, the marathon. But I want to tell you all something this. We talk about marathons. And again, I'm running a half marathon next Saturday. Trust me, I will stretch, I promise. But what I want y'all to understand is that as we talk about generations and we talk about who did you bring with you, I want y'all to understand something. Stretched, trained so he could compete. When we talk about legacy, and even though I tell y'all that the marathon, your legacy is a relay race. Your legacy is a relay race. Somewhere, somehow, someplace, somebody was working, knowing that college wasn't a possibility for them. But they were okay because they understood that there was a uniform that was going to be tailor-made for you. Right size, right fit. And all you had to do was show up to practice. All you had to do was stretch. All you had to do was train. So now you can compete. And so when I ask you, who did you bring with you? Think before you answer. But know that when you answer, that while your legacy is a relay race, the marathon